Welcome back to the show, everybody. As you can notice, we didn't have a full episode on Thursday, so I didn't want to leave you guys without an explanation. It's just been a lot going on, and we're really working hard behind the scenes to get you guys some quality people on the podcast. So we have some exciting guests, but I did not want to leave you an entire week without hearing from us, without dropping something in the feed. So I've been going back through all of the episodes that I've done, and there's been some episodes that I just did not release, whether I didn't think they were good enough or just never got around to it. So this is a new little kind of spinoff. This is the Lost Files. These are the things that never made it to the podcast, but now I can look back and appreciate how far I've come. So I hope you enjoy, and until next time, peace. Welcome to the podcast. I got my brother Emmanuel McGee, and we're going to be talking everything restaurant related. So serving, bartending, reminiscing on our days at Outback Steakhouse. If you'd like to support the show in any magnitude, you can go to patreon.com/thecleverangle, and we're about to dive into it. We're going to talk about working through college and what that experience was like for us firsthand. We're back at it again.
What up?
So, yeah. So let's go ahead and let's dive right into it. I mean, what's going on with you, man? Like, how's the photography and stuff going?
It's going really good. The weather is kind of sucked here in Jonesboro. It's rained for like the last, we'll have days where it rains for like 3 days, and then it'll be like kind of sunny.
Yeah.
For like a day, and then it'll rain like another 3 days. So it's been kind of hard to get out there and take pictures and stuff, because I'm a natural light photographer. So I go out there and I prefer nicer weather, but I mean, you got to roll with the punches. And then it's been kind of crazy with this Corona stuff too. Like, it's got everything out of whack.
Yeah. So let's take it back. We've been removed from the physical restaurant game for a while, but we're going to take it back to when we were working at Outback, living off tips, going to A-State. So, yeah, I know I worked there for about 6 years. How long did you work there?
8.
8 years. See, that's almost a decade in there, just slinging tables in and out. So you started as a busboy, right?
I want to say I started when I was 19. I believe,
yeah,
right before I turned 20. I had a little bit of serving experience. I worked at Fat City with a bunch of our friends, and that was like my first taste.
I forgot about that.
Of the server industry, but Outback was a lot different.
Yeah. So, to everyone out there that's never served a table before, what's some stuff that you personally think that they should know?
Okay. Well, I'll start with from the beginning. When I applied first to Outback, I was trying to be a server. And especially back then, it was like, I mean, there's kind of levels to it, Like I say, I mean, you know better than anybody, but there's kind of levels to it. So depending on how old you are and how much experience you have, you might start doing different stuff if serving's the goal. It looks a little bit better if you have some kind of experience, but it kind of just depends on where you worked and how long you worked there. So I was applying to Outback because I had some server experience, and we were working at the grocery store, and I was tired of that. So I was like, I'm going to go and apply. And I think I actually applied 2 or 3 times. And especially back then, because like I said, this was 8 years ago. So Jonesboro didn't have as many restaurants.
It's crazy the amount of restaurants that have come to Jonesboro
over the course of 8 years. I don't think there was a Red Lobster. There wasn't a Longhorn, stuff like that. There wasn't an Olive Garden. There wasn't a Chili's.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't a Cheddar's. None of those. So Outback was one of the main places to go eat, especially on the weekends. So you had a lot of people wanting to work there. And it wasn't one of those things where, okay, hey, I served for a year, that would guarantee you a job. So I applied the first time, had to take a personality test, and I never got called back. And I was super fed up with the grocery store thing, so I decided to do it again. I actually talked to a manager this time, took the personality test, passed that, and then one of the managers at the time, which was Jamie, actually was like, we're full at the server position. We got too many, but we need a busboy. And like a busboy was something that I'd only heard about like in movies and stuff. I was like, what exactly is a busboy?
Yeah. So I'm gonna ask you this. I've got a thoughts on this too, because obviously I worked there too. But do you really think that all of that was necessary to like be a server, like
No.
having to like earn your stripes per se?
No. And like I said, it's something that a lot
Definitely
of people, if you've never been in like the serving industry, don't really know about. But the idea was like for you to be around the staff and learn like the menu and stuff like that, and then eventually you'll start like moving up. But so for those like who don't know what a busboy does, which I feel like is kind of common sense, but for those who don't know, anything that's left on the table after you get done eating, it's the busboy's job to basically clean the table and set it back up so a fresh party or a fresh group of people can go there. So I was like, okay, how hard can it be? She told me in about a month that I was going to be waiting tables. So I was like, cool. And I ended up doing it for 6 months. And it was probably one of the worst jobs I've ever had in my life.
100%. And I respect a lot of things from the restaurant side of that I gained from working at a restaurant. But man, like those hours were just horrible, man.
Yeah.
Like I think everybody should have to do it so they can see the kind of respect that you should give to people that are handling your food, because we had a lot of like just horrible people come in there. I mean, there's a lot of good people too, a lot of regulars, a lot of people that we still talk to. But I mean, as far as like if you got someone that wasn't on that wavelength, they just thought that you were just like their little slave, like you just
scum of the earth.
Exactly. They just saw you as like peasants, really, like really.
So and like literally, the busboy is kind of like the ground level of a restaurant.
Yeah.
Like as far as like the front of the house. So the front of the restaurant. And when I got hired on, they really needed busboys. Like they had a hard time keeping busboys, and rightfully so. Like on the weekends, like that restaurant was so busy.
But this was also back when they were opening at 4, and honestly, I think that was like an interesting strategy because people wanted it more because they didn't get to get it for lunch.
Yeah. So when I got hired on, there was probably like 1 or 2 more busboys. On the weekends, there were shifts where I would come in at like around 12 and then leave at like almost 12. And I mean, essentially what you do is as soon as somebody gets up, since there's such a high demand and wait on the weekends, it's your job to get there as fast as possible and clean off the table as fast as possible and get it set up for the next party. So just imagine doing that for, 50 something tables all day. Absolutely terrible. So for people that don't know, there's this thing called pre-bus, and every server is supposed to do it, but essentially what it is when somebody's like done with like an appetizer plate or a salad plate or like their main course plate, dessert plate, whatever the case may be, your server's supposed to come up and like take those plates off the table. So then therefore they don't just have a bunch of dirty dishes, and it makes it easier on the busboy. But what usually happens is they don't. And for multiple reasons, like you get really busy as a server, but it makes it a lot harder on the busboy. So for people who go out to eat and they see a busboy literally busting his tail, some of the things that you can do is as soon as you're done with like a plate or something like that, put it at the edge of the table.
Do you feel like you view going out to eat differently now that you're out of it and that you've done it before?
Absolutely. I think that everybody should work in a restaurant at some capacity. Because, I mean, basically like what you were talking about, like you would have people come in there and they would just treat you like you weren't a person. It sounds crazy, but it's like they would kind of treat you like they're better than you in a sense. And not all people, these are just a handful of people that we're talking about, but
they didn't treat it like a real job. They're like, oh, you're doing this, but what do you really want to do?
Exactly. So, I mean, you do meet some really good people, and then you meet some yeah, some of those.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's interesting, man. It's kind of like, and we were talking about this the other day. It's the serving industry is kind of like its own little bubble, and like once you're in it, people are like so unaware of kind of like the way things are. But to kind of get back on track, I did the busboy thing for 6 months and it was terrible. But I knew that if I stuck with it, then I could eventually serve tables. Which, for people that don't know, when you're in college,
it's the easiest way to make money.
It's the easiest way to make money because you're getting paid so little. I mean, it was even lower back then, but it was like $2.16 an hour.
Mm-hmm. So like $2.63 last time I checked.
Yeah. So everything else is your tips, and I mean, you go in there from like 12 to 7, you could potentially make $100 to $200 and get that night. That's after tip share.
It's addicting too, especially for a college student that's 19, 20 years old, that you get to walk away with $150, $200, and you're still just trying to navigate this freedom that you've just been given. And you feel like you're an adult, because like that's pretty much the most amount of money that you've seen up until this point is like, this quick money that you're getting in. And that's why it's hard for people to leave. That's why people do it on the side. That's why people stay there, 6, 7, 8 years, because it's hard to get from that to like get paid every 2 weeks, having a budget. Like, you can speak to this, but I mean, like if you needed to pay a bill and if it was due on Monday, you could work every shift Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and you be good on no matter what bill it was.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, people are always giving away shifts in the restaurant industry. So the big thing about like me actually getting like a job where I get paid every 2 weeks is you have to manage your money a little bit differently. And what is really appealing to college kids is, like I said, you go in for a shift and you get that money that day. You don't have to wait 2 weeks. You don't have to manage your money. If I go and I splurge and spend a bunch of my money, then I can just pick up shifts and, kind of get that money back. So you're constantly having cash. You're constantly spending a lot more money, but you make really good money doing it. It's like you get that instantly. I mean, it's a good feeling, especially when you're in college and you don't have a lot of money to begin with. One thing that I want to kind of shed a little bit of light on as far as like how tips work. Now I would say that and they do a lot better job now, because a lot of times when you go out to eat, there's like suggestive tipping on the receipt. So it'll tell you, this is what you should tip if you want to tip 10%. This is what you want to tip if you want to tip 15%. I think nobody really can ever complain about getting tipped 20%. I think that's like the standard. Like if you're a server and somebody tips you 20%, you really can't complain about that. But back, 8 years ago when we were doing it, there was none of that. It was just kind of, you get what they give you. But what people don't realize is that the host, a lot of the times, and the busboys get paid off tip share. So they take a percentage of the tips that the servers make and they put it in the pot and they use that to pay the busboys and the host. So they're only getting, like, if you give somebody like $5, what was tip share? You remember? Like, what's the
tip share for what, bar?
No, I'm saying like the percentage that they took out. You remember?
I think it was 3%.
3%.
Yeah.
So basically for every dollar
from sales though.
Yeah,
from whatever your sales.
Yeah, from sales. So if you spend $100,
that's $3.
Then it takes $3 whole from the server.
Yeah.
So if I tip $10 and you spend $100, then that server is taking home $7.
Yeah. So
that's what a lot of people don't realize, is they don't get all the money that you leave them. So,
and they think you just walk around and get like, $20, $30 tips. Well, if you get $4 or $5 tips an hour, you're making $20 an hour. That's more than some, nurses at the time and things like that. And I'm just like, guys, it really doesn't work like that. People are there in their own pace. You only get 3 tables at Outback. It's not like you're slinging 8, 9 tables. That's a
lot. Like if you're new, you get like 2.
Yeah, that's a lot of tables, because you have to give them a certain experience that they're coming. It wasn't like it was like a fast food restaurant. It's not like a Red Robin or something. Like, these people are ordering $25, $30 steaks, so they want to sit there and they want to enjoy themselves. And while if they're spending money, they usually tip you. It doesn't always go like that.
Exactly.
What was the worst tip or the lowest tip that you ever got?
Nothing. So. They call it getting stiff, but so essentially, if you go and you spend $300 and you don't tip the server at all, then they're at what is that, $9?
Yeah.
$9 is taken from the pool of tips that server gets. So that's why it's like a big deal for a server to get stiffed, you know? So, some places, offer like gratuity. So if you come in there with a X amount of people, a lot of times it's more than like, 7 people. So if you have like a party of like 8 people, it used to be you just throw the gratuity on. So
Yeah.
they would just automatically throw 20% on there, and that's what you paid. Now it's like suggestive. It's like understood that you don't necessarily have to pay it. Some people were like cross it out, but that used to be like a good way to guarantee money. Like if you had like a party of 8 or more, you could just throw the gratuity on there and they pay it, and then you just kind of get that money. Now it's suggestive, so it's not like you have to pay it.
Yeah, 100%, and that's definitely changed. Because my thing is, I think the biggest thing is that people just assume that whatever they were going to give to the server really is not going to matter because they make all this money or whatever. So I mean, it's just like, it's just not true. It's not true. We used to have to work weekends all the time. You missed all kinds of holidays.
Oh, yeah.
The kitchen is absolutely just nuts back there.
Yeah.
Just crazy.
So to go back kind of like on my journey, after that 6 months, I started hosting. So most people know what a host is, but it's the person that literally shows like the most hospitality in the front. They're the people that, if you're on a wait, they're going to write your name down. They're going to take you to your table. They're going to open the doors for you. They're going to be polite to you. They're going to hand out food, all that kind of stuff. That's the hostess job. So I went from a busboy to that, and I only did that for about a month and a half. But around that time is when a lot more of my friends started working there. So I think you and Spencer started working there, and a couple of other people. So, that wasn't bad, but they get paid in tip share also. So they're not getting an hourly wage. Or do they? Do they get an hourly wage?
Who's that?
Host.
They do, but I think it's like 4 something an hour.
Yeah.
It's not minimum wage.
Yeah, it's
for
not
sure.
It's not a lot, but I mean, with tip share, it's around minimum wage. So that's kind of what they're. So a host is usually a job for like, you can work at a restaurant at like 16. You can't you can't wait tables, but you can do stuff like hosting and like takeaway. I don't think you have to be 18 to do that, but anytime you have like the ability to serve alcohol, you have to be 18. That's like state law.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that, and then finally, after about 7 months, I started waiting tables, and it's like I said, it's just a whole different world. Especially at like a really busy restaurant. I think one thing that people need to realize is that waiting tables is like one of the most fast-paced jobs I've ever had in my life. And I mean, now there are times where there's downtime, but if it's like on a Friday or a Saturday night, like during dinner time or a busy time, your server is literally running back and forth. And to shine some light on kind of like what you were saying, that kitchen is total chaos. We worked at a steakhouse. So just imagine the last time you tried to cook a steak yourself. Right.
Try cooking 10 of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfectly at different temperatures.
At different temperatures. Like anybody, like, and I'm not talking about put a steak on a grill and just wait till it's well done. I'm talking about like having to specifically cook a steak a certain temperature. You know how picky people are with their steaks. Different cuts of meat, cooked different ways, all of this stuff. Imagine that. There's literally like this giant grill back there, and there's probably 30 to 40 to 50 steaks on there at one time, right? So now you have all these people who like their food a specific way, and it's the server's job to make sure that it, one, comes out the right way, and then two, get everything that they need in that kitchen before they come back out there.
You know what was the difficult part to me about serving tables?
What's that?
Is that people didn't think that you were allowed to make mistakes.
Exactly.
Like they really thought that you were going to be 100% perfect in a timely manner. The kitchen was never going to crash. Tickets were never going to be lost. You weren't going to forget their extra salad dressing. if they had some kind of special request about like, hey, I want you to bring this out and sing to my girlfriend or whatever, this is going to be awesome, that you could like gather up 10 people to come do that, and like nobody was busy. They didn't think there was going to be any roadblocks, and that's why I feel like I'm just so much more patient with servers now. Exactly. It could be an absolutely just horrible botched experience, and you're still going to get a tip and respect from me because I know what it's like to be back there behind the battle lines and what's going on. You know, a steak might forget to be dropped, or a salad might hit the ground, or you know, they forgot to do a dessert, and you want this stuff to come out quality, so you have to be able to wait. You have to be patient, and there's just so many people that weren't patient. But that's just me.
Yeah, and then just back to our point, like I think that another reason why I think everybody, especially like if you're like 16 or and on, I think somebody should work at a restaurant at some capacity, so you're just a little bit more sympathetic, because you were talking, you were touching on like the mentality that people have towards servers. Like, you know, there's like a stigma that, you know, servers are a certain way. And I just think it'd be like a humbling experience for anybody to just kind of realize, you know, kind of what they go through, because they don't make that. I mean, they make pretty good money.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like they're barely scraping by. If you're in college and you got like a couple of roommates, you know, you don't really have any major bills. If you wait tables, like you're doing pretty good. Like, you're paying your bills comfortably and you're able to go out and buy pretty much what you want. You know, if you work 10 hours and you make $200, you know, that's like $20 an hour. Like, where else can you get that from? Yeah, I mean, you know, and not have like a college degree. So it's really good money. But I just think some people are just like kind of in the dark of just everything that everybody goes through. So yeah, I'm the same way. Like, it's like you can't turn it off. Like, I've done it for so long that like when I go to a restaurant, because a lot of the restaurants, you know, they might serve different food, but the premise is like kind of the same. You know what I'm saying? So that's why you see a lot of servers bounce from like restaurant to restaurant to restaurant, because yeah, you're going to have to learn the menu and stuff, but like the order of like operations that you learn from like waiting tables is pretty much the same everywhere.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like, and I honestly don't think it'll ever go away. I think it'll always be ingrained in me just for how long we worked there. Okay, so let's transition a little bit. So, you know, we've been serving tables for a little while. Now we're bartending. How was that different from serving tables?
Okay, so back kind of like to the latter, like as far as like the front of house, like it in my opinion, it goes busboy, host, server, and then like the bartender are typically like the best servers. They're the people who can talk to people. They're the people who can execute. They're the people who don't stress out under like high pressure situations. And this is and like I said, we worked at a restaurant, not even like at a bar, but they tend to be the best of the best, and it's a privilege to become a bartender. So it was kind of a difficult transition at first, because you're so used to being so good at one thing for so long. So I think I started bartending after I was maybe like started working there 4 years, and like it's humbling to suck at something again. Like, you think that you know what you're doing. It looks easy, you know, from, you know, the server looking at the bartender make these drinks, but it's hard, dude. It's hard. So just to kind of list off some of the responsibilities that like a bartender had like on any given night. So the bartender makes the drinks, all the drinks for the entire restaurant. And the way that they make money usually is from the people around the bar. So the most, like, probably I would say about 70% of the money that you make that night are your guests. So like, imagine, you know, like you said, a regular server only gets like 3 tables. You can sit about 20 people at a bar.
Yeah.
So it's your job to not only entertain those people, talk to those people, make all of their drinks while you're making all the drinks for the restaurant, which doesn't sound like a lot until, I mean, Fridays and Saturday nights, we were making like 200, 300 drinks.
I would challenge anybody to do that. for a night.
And it's not
see.
it's not just like, pour a glass of wine. It's like make this specialty drink that has like 10 ingredients in it. And so what happens essentially is all of the drink orders, you have like a printer behind the bar, and it just goes off when there's a drink being made. When somebody puts in a drink. Like on a Friday, Saturday night, imagine that thing going off like 10 times in a row. Mm-hmm. All different stuff.
Frozen drinks.
Yeah.
Martinis, things that I didn't even know like were drinks. And it's like you said, it's humbling just to be able to have to start back at ground zero, especially at a place that you've been working for so long, and you master one thing, and now you get a chance to do like a little bit more of an exciting job where you get to show off your personality, talk to people. That's something obviously that we both still like to do is, interact with people. So, I mean, it was definitely like an eye-opening experience. And I just don't think that people realize how much goes into making a dining experience enjoyable for somebody. And like I said, be nice to your server, be nice to your people that are giving you coffee in the morning. Shout out Shadrack's, best coffee in town. Like just anybody that's doing anything service related, those jobs are hard. Dealing with people is a hard business to be in any capacity, especially hungry people. Yeah. It's hard.
I think that like to be successful in any field, any career, any job, you need to have people skills to some extent. And I mean, the way that I learned how to talk to people, the way that I learned how to kind of what you can and can't say to people and all that other kind of stuff is, bartending and waiting tables. And it's interesting because, like I said, you're doing all this work and making these drinks, but like we were saying before, you still have to take care of these guests. That's how you're going to make your money. So sometimes you have to like prioritize, like, okay, this person, I got to make sure that their food comes out, but then I got 10 checks. So you're not always back there by yourself. Usually they'll have like another bartender back there, and then you guys kind of just like divide and conquer. Like you'll have somebody who just focuses on the guest the entire night for 6 hours. And then you have somebody who literally just makes all the well drinks. And then if one person is struggling, then you kind of just like flip back and forth. So that's kind of what we did a lot when we bartended together. But it's like from being on the outside looking in and like in it, like you realize that like, obviously now we don't work at a restaurant. So when I go somewhere on like a Friday night and I'm watching the bartender, I mean, to me, since I've been through it, like I can obviously tell that person's busy. You can just tell by the way. But to like the average person, it's just somebody back there chilling. And that used to be like the most frustrating thing. It's like literally all of this stuff is like piling on top of you. Okay, you got 10 drinks to make. And then somebody sits down at the bar, so you got to greet them. And then this person's food didn't come out right. And then the printer goes off another 5 times. So now you got 15 drinks to make. And then one of the servers is asking about one of the drinks that you hadn't got to yet. And then another person sits down and then they're like, we're out of ribeyes tonight. Yes. So this is like one of these things that's like constantly crushing you. And like, if you're not ready for it, that's why they pick the best of the best in the restaurant, because somebody who, can't handle 3 tables can't handle all of that, and I think the hardest thing is to like just to remain calm. Like when you're greeting somebody, 1,000%. You don't want to go like, okay,
it's hard. It's hard. Hey, what do we need? We ain't got no ice up here. We ain't got no ice. The beer hot.
I'll be right with you, sir.
We need some more ultras in here. Somebody get some ice on that ultra.
Don't let the keg run out.
I know. Oh God!
For anybody that doesn't
I'm
know,
having flashbacks. Whew.
For anybody that doesn't know, if a keg runs out up front, you have to go to the back and change it. And a lot of times, the only people that know how to change the kegs are either managers, who are literally like getting pummeled by mountains of food.
Sir, and this was supposed to be a strawberry frozen. I'm gonna need you to remake this.
It's terrible, bro. But at the same time, they make the most money in the restaurant.
Yeah.
And that tip share that we were talking about, that all the servers pay out to, they also pay out to the bartenders
Yeah.
too. So like on any given night, Tevin, like a good night, what would you say like a good night was for us? Like,
Bartending?
Yeah. So
$200 plus tip share, easy.
So about $250.
Yeah, $250 plus, and like I said, you didn't have to do a lot of the stuff that the servers did. Like you didn't have to run food, which I mean, some restaurants have food runners, but at Outback, I can only speak to being a server.
Explain what a food runner is.
I mean, basically, a food runner is so when the cook gets the food plated and they push it in the window. The rest of the stuff, like garnishing the potatoes, like, putting the butter and sour cream, cheese, bacon, and chives on the potatoes, or the parsley on the mashed potatoes, or, just the little touches that you have to do to the food after it comes out of the window, like putting a little thing of ketchup with it and actually physically carrying it out to the table and
making it look ready to eat, basically.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's still a big part of it, because I've heard a lot of people, some of my friends that have never waited tables before and aren't really familiar with that space would be like, why are I don't even understand why we tip people. I mean, they just brought me my food. It's not like they're back there cooking the steak. No, but they took your order. They took it how you wanted it. They brought you refills. They cleared your table off. Like I said, they ran your food. They did a lot of behind the scenes stuff, and they're only getting paid $2 an hour to do it.
Yeah, that you don't necessarily see. There's so much more going on. Like, I mean, just it's something as simple as like getting a refill. Like, so this is kind of what a server has to, like on a busy weekend. This is what a server has to do in order for to get you a refill. Say that he puts a drink on your table and you just drink it in like 10 seconds, right? Mm-hmm. So now he goes, okay, I'll get you another refill.
And I'm bad about that, but I'm really good about being like, take your time, sir. You're like,
yeah, like
I've been hooping. I'm sorry.
So like on a Friday and Saturday night, there's probably about almost 20 servers there waiting tables. Mm-hmm. So there's a line, right? So the thing about what makes a good server is you want to consolidate your steps, and you want to be able to multitask, and you want to be able to do as much as you need to do before you go back out there. So a lot of times what takes people so long is not only like, okay, so I picked up this water that, you need because you just drank it. Well, now I have to wait behind 10 people to get you a refill. And then I have to get refills from my other tables. And then before I can leave, I have to grab some food. So it could be somebody's appetizer, somebody's salad. Okay, so my other table's food's right here. So I'm going to make sure that looks right. Then you carry it out on this big tray, and then you just, hand it out accordingly. But that right there is like 5 minutes. It's not just walking in the kitchen, filling this cup up with ice or whatever. I mean, stuff happens to where we don't want we never reuse the same glasses. So you have to get like a fresh glass. We run out of glasses all the time. Literally, either all the glasses were dirty or they were all out there on the tables. So there's kind of like this, like, I guess, a simile line, so to speak, like this circle that keeps everything going. You're supposed to pre-bust, because when you pre-bust, you get the dishes to the dishwasher so they can clean the dishes. And then, so we can have clean dishes to put the food on. Like, so if you're not doing like these little things that you're supposed to be doing, then that's when stuff starts hitting the fan. That's when, this person, needs a refill, but we don't have any clean glasses. And this person, salad's running late and we don't have any bowls for the salads. And, you decide that you wanted to change your mind about something that you ordered.
And just like that, bro, I'm telling you, I've never had a job where time goes by so fast.
So like I said, right now, my day job is like, most of my day is spent driving. And it's like, literally, like, it took me so long to get used to, because it's like time just goes by so slow. When you're in the like serving industry and you get there at like 4 o'clock, I swear you'll blink and it's 9 o'clock. Like, you are constantly moving back and forth.
It's not even that. Constantly. It's just literally everything is on a time schedule. Like, you're literally timing everything. Okay, it's been 2 minutes. I need to have these salads out. 2 minutes. I got to go get these drinks to these people. Literally, it's been 12 minutes. Like, you are counting time the entire time. And, as your table progresses and gets their food and different things, they might have already been here 30, 40 minutes, So, like, you do that 4 times and it's 9:30.
Yeah.
Okay, so what would you say was the most what was the most stressful part about it to you? And then I'll share my
The most stressful part about waiting tables is just kind of what I was talking about. It kind of seems like on like a really busy day, you can never get caught up. There's always something. So if you go back in the kitchen or you go up front and you have 10 things to do, most likely, within the next like 2 to 3 minutes, you're going to have another 10 things to do. So it's like you would knock out 3 things you need to do. I need to get a refill. I need to get the salad out. I need to make sure the steak's cooked this way. And then you get sat with another table in the midst of that. So there's a term that we call like double seating.
Yeah.
So essentially what it is when you get sat with 2 different groups of people at the exact same time. So depending on how big your section is, and that's another thing that I want to talk about because I kind of just want to shed light on somebody that doesn't wait tables. Your servers have sections. So what this means is they're assigned certain tables. So, some servers, newer servers have 2 tables. A more experienced server might have anywhere from 3 to 4 tables. So what double sitting essentially means is if I have 2 tables open, both of those tables get sat at the exact same time. So that can be stressful when you go back to you got 10 things to do, right? And you closed out those 2 tables, and then the busboys get them clean, and you're out here knocking these things off your list that you have to do, and you look over, and then you got 2 more tables, which need a fresh start.
The boy in the weeds.
Yeah. So, so when you go into a restaurant and you see open tables, and you're wondering why you're sitting up front, you have to realize that sometimes, depending on
they
when
could
you
just
go,
set us right there. There's multiple tables over there.
Yeah, it means that servers can only have a limited amount of tables because this is what, and it's different for every restaurant, but that's the max amount of tables that they feel like that one person can have and get everything that you need done accordingly. So sometimes when you see open tables and you're waiting, it's just like the staff isn't there sometimes. Like around like anywhere from like after lunch, so like 2:00 to like 5:00, that's dead time. There might be 1 or 2 to 3 servers there.
Yeah.
So the whole restaurant might seem empty, but there's only 3 servers there who can only have 3 tables apiece. So that's like 9. So if there's like a bigger demand, like there's only 3 servers there and there's like, a crowd developing up front, then they'll start sitting these people with more tables. So like, Becky can only have 2 tables. She might get 5. And that's when you start getting like the worst service because they're overwhelmed. They're not used to having that. Another thing before I forget, that I wanted to talk about that people don't realize is pace. So pace is essentially spacing out your different courses so that you're not overwhelmed with food. So I'll kind of paint a picture. Say that you want an appetizer. We're just going to say like a blooming onion. And then you want a salad. And then you want your steak. And then you want dessert. So 4-course meal, right? Imagine that all coming out at the same time.
Yeah.
So there's food everywhere. It's taking up the whole table. After you get your salad, you might not want to go back to your appetizer. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah.
So pace is essentially when the server is up. It's when the server puts your food in. So the way that they did it out back is if you had an appetizer, that's what goes in first. That's what should hit the table first, right? And you wait until they're halfway done with that, until you start sending stuff like salads and the main course and dessert. So then that way you're giving them time to eat and enjoy everything. You know what I'm saying? Some people don't realize that. So when you order a blooming onion and 5 minutes go by after you order and you're like, where's my salad? Well, that server is waiting for your appetizer to get out there and for you to get halfway through before you get that. So that's what pace is. And some people don't realize that. Like you said, everything's on like a time schedule. Your server is literally counting or timing how long it takes you to eat something before they bring the next thing out.
And sometimes the pace gets messed up, and it might not necessarily be your fault, but you're right there to take the blame, and it takes an emotional toll on you to see people like constantly getting upset with you, especially with things that you can't control.
Exactly.
If I forgot to bring your food in, my bad, buddy. If it's something on someone else, I'm not going to go out there and be like, it's not my fault. The kitchen didn't even drop your steak. And, I'm not going to go throw anybody under the bus, but I'm the one who's getting that brute force at the, on the front end. Yeah. So, I mean, like you do that over and over and over, and it just begins to take a toll on you.
Yeah. And it goes back to people just being just like flat out rude to you. And they feel like that you're not a person that they can just kind of talk to you any kind of way. And it takes like a strong person to just sit there with a smile on their face. Like someone is literally like cussing you out, literally about a steak. A steak.
Dude, people act like kids when it comes to their food. Grown people. No, I'm not eating this. I said I want it well done, and there's a little bit of pink in there. And I understand, but I mean, okay, we'll get it fixed for you. You know what I'm saying? Work with me here. I didn't make sure. I didn't make sure. I didn't make their steak have a little bit of pink in it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, but I can fix it. You give me a chance to fix it and be calm and understanding that we'll get it taken care of.
Exactly. So, I mean, there's just a lot of things to go into it. Also, as far as like steaks are concerned, all of the food back there, people don't realize this either, are in what we like to call the window. So basically it's food that's ready to go out that is underneath a heat lamp, because you don't want people to have cold food. So the food will be under heat until you pull it out of this window. So with steaks, especially, it could have been medium well when it got off of the grill, but depending on how long it sits in that window, it could cook up to well done. Also the plates are really hot too. That could cook your steak up too. There's a lot of variables that go into it.
So many. Before
it even hits the table. To get that right 100% of the time is impossible, first of all. But if they do it 80% of the time in a night, that's a success. Secondly, no one ever has said, okay, you ordered it medium well. Well, I mean, it's well, so you just gonna have to eat it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Make sure you leave that tip on the table too. Like, I mean, 9 times out of 10, if you're just like polite, that's another thing. Like, if you're just polite, like they're gonna want to fix your stuff. The people that I didn't want to help, even like I said, it just takes a strong person for someone to literally be pointing the finger at you, cussing at you, because they do that. Sometimes people get physical with you. Sometimes people want to see a manager. Sometimes people have horrible attitudes. To sit there with a smile on your face.
Yeah.
That's probably the toughest thing. Like, as far as like waiting tables, to sit there and just kind of like pretend, because they'll say stuff to you in a restaurant setting that they wouldn't say to you on the side of the street.
If you weren't at work, they would not say it to you.
Exactly.
I think for me, the toughest part for me was just the having to work every weekend.
Yeah.
Having to work nights to make money. You couldn't really work lunch shifts anywhere and make a good amount of money in this area. So that was really tough. Having to work all of the holidays, and never being able to get off. So like you never were off for Mother's Day. That was a huge day there. You were never off for Father's Day. You didn't get Christmas Eve off. You really couldn't take vacations.
The only days that we got off were Christmas and
Thanksgiving.
So that's another thing to keep in mind. When you're out celebrating whatever it is, your anniversary, whether it's Mother's Day, and this is for anybody with a job that has to work over a holiday, just kind of like keep that in mind, that like, look, you're out celebrating, but this person's here working. I missed for 8 years. I missed every Mother's Day. I missed every Father's Day. There were days we had to work on our birthdays. I missed all of our parents' birthdays and all of our sisters' birthdays. I missed a lot
of my friends' weddings. I missed just get-togethers with friends, trips out of town. giving your all to this restaurant.
Yeah.
And, like I said, there's a lot of good, but, I still hold some resentment like against that type of like, we have just enough employees to get by. And I'm not trying to bash like the restaurant world at all, but I'm just saying like for me, my personal experience, I felt like that, that it wasn't going to be something I was going to be able to continue doing even at a higher level than a bartender, because I'm like, I cannot do this.
Yeah. So
I can't do that.
It's something to keep in mind. Like next time you're somewhere and you want to complain on a Mother's Day, realize that some of these people aren't seeing their family today. Like they're there all day. Another thing from like a point that you brought up, lunchtime. People, when you go out and eat for lunch, a lot of the times, like during lunch, the food is a lot cheaper. When the food, and it just works this way, when the food is a lot cheaper, the tips are smaller.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just something to keep in mind. You want to do something for a server, like go eat lunch and then give them like a really good tip, because 9 times out of 10, they're not even making like 20%. Like, and as a server, you can't even afford to just work a lunch shift. You'll be there from like 10 to like 4, and you'll make like $20.
Then you got to come back from like 4:30 to 9 to make another $40.
Yes. So exactly. So that's just, little things to kind of like keep in mind when you're going into a restaurant. And the thing is, like, so a lot of people just don't realize this kind of thing unless you're like in that world. You would never know. I know our mom talks about how she used to never tip the Sonic workers. And then we have a big sister.
We have a big sister that worked at Sonic.
We had a big sister that worked at Sonic, and she kind of saw kind of what she was going through as far as like the tips, and like, yeah, this is the thing. This is how, a lot of people get, paid, and this is how they pay their bills and all that kind of stuff. I don't ever not tip the Sonic workers now, but it's only because, I see that, and a lot of people just don't see it. It's not anybody's fault. So that's just something to keep in mind. And that's just something to keep in mind when you go out to eat. It's just food. It's literally just food. Like, it's not the end of the world. Going out to eat's a luxury anyway. Just kind of have a level head and just realize kind of what some of these people are going through. But some of the upsides to just working at a restaurant is you work with all kinds of people.
Yeah.
So anywhere from the host to the bus boys because a lot of times, like I said, the bus boys and the host are like in high school.
Yeah.
Right. So you wouldn't like after, you graduate high school, there's not a lot of times that you interact with, high schoolers. So you're a college student, you're 22, you're waiting tables, you're interacting with high schoolers, you're interacting with people much older than you. Some of the cooks are like anywhere from 30 to 40 years old. It's just like a bunch of different people that you would like otherwise not be exposed to. People tend to be clicked up like just in general. People have their cliques and kind of the people that they like to hang out with. When you're working at a restaurant, you never know who might get hired there. And something that I came to realize is like some of these people that I would like never hang out with wound up being like some of my like really good friends. You literally start to become like family there. So I working there 8 years, I met a lot of people. I met a lot of cool people. That I might not necessarily have met like
exactly
outside of it.
Or hung out with. You might, yeah. So like,
you hang out together. You go to the gym together. You work 40 plus hours a week.
They're the only people that understand your schedule and have the same kind of schedule as you. Know what you're going through. Available to hang out when you're available to hang out. And it's just hard not to, if you're spending 10, 12 hours with these people, 4 or 5 times a week. It's just hard not to, become friends with those type of people.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, man. So, I mean, it's just, I just really just wanted to do this to just shed some light on some things that people might not really know about, because I mean we all go out to eat, but you really don't see the behind the scenes aspect of it, and that's what we're here to do. We're here to
Shed that light.
Yeah, shed that light
on just like, just kind of give not only our perspectives, but just other people's perspectives on things that, people just don't know, and I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
100%. So you have any closing things to say before we jump off here, E, that you would like somebody to know about being a server, or any advice to somebody that's works in a restaurant right now?
Any advice to someone that's working in a restaurant? Yeah. Is really good money.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the people who go out and eat at restaurants, tip and just learn how to be patient.
100%. Well, that wraps up another episode of The Clever Angle. I hope you guys enjoyed this bonus content. If there's anything that we didn't cover about the server or restaurant industry, you can always let us know down in the comments below. And as always, we are on Patreon at patreon.com/The Clever Angle. And you guys be safe out there during this coronavirus weather. Wash your hands, practice social distancing, and just watch for updates. So hopefully we can get this thing cleared up. If we all work together as a nation, it'll be over sooner than later. God bless, and everybody have a great week.